Revelation 8. This chapter speaks on the seventh and final seal, with the other six being spoken in chapter 6, and also speaks on 4 of the 7 trumpets, the second of the seven overall punishments within the end times. There'll be 3 punishments within the end times that all have 7 different things included in them. The 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 bowls. The trumpets are the second one, the middle of the pack, and we'll see 3 of them within this chapter. 4 of them within this chapter being sounded. Jumping into verses 1 through 5, we see what the 7th seal is all about. When he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. Another angel, who had a golden censer, came and stood at the altar. He was given much incense to offer, with the prayers of all the saints, on the golden altar before the throne. The smoke of the incense, together with the prayers of the saints, went up before God from the angel's hand. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Here we finally learn what the 7th seal contains, and it starts with silence in heaven for half an hour, symbolizing a major event coming henceforth afterwards. We see the lead into the 7 trumpets within these verses as well, and then we see incense being offered to God, as well as the prayers of the saints being lifted to him. Now, does this mean that he hadn't already been hearing these prayers of the saints in heaven, and hearing all our prayers today? No, it doesn't. It's just a specific thing mentioned within these verses. The final verse of this section speaks on the purpose of the 7th seal, with it just being overall destruction, with lightning, thunder, and earthquakes across the entire earth. Jumping into verses 6 through 13 and closing out the chapter with the 4 trumpets being sounded, we read, Then the 7 angels, who had the 7 trumpets, prepared to sound them. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire, mixed with blood, and it was hurled down upon the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a huge mountain, all ablaze, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on the third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. A third of the day was without light, and also a third of the night. As I watched, I heard an eagle that was flying in midair call out in a loud voice, Woe, 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 to the inhabitants of the earth, because of the loud trumpet blasts about to be sounded by the other 3 angels. Here we see the first 4 of the 7 trumpet blasts, with the next 2 being the entire subject of chapter 9, which is coming next. But we also see how the trumpets here each are only impacting a third of the areas that they are hitting. Spoiler alert for people who haven't read Revelation, but the next 3 trumpets are going to impact much more than just a third of the earth. And sadly, anyone who does not believe in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior will have to deal with this if they are alive on earth. They'll have to live or die during these events in the end times. Our first trumpet causes hail and fire to rain down on the earth, destroying an entire third of the earth, as well as a third of the trees and all the grass. This will have a huge impact on farming and the world state itself. But we have to also remember here that people will already know, hopefully, that the world is ending from the seals mentioned in chapter 6, as well as all the Christians of the earth being gone and in heaven. The second trumpet destroys the sea, with a third of the creatures dying and a third of the ships being destroyed. Trumpet number 3 makes a third of the water go undrinkable. Wormwood, the star mentioned, actually means bitterness, and that's what will happen to the water. It will turn bitter. And that will lead to dehydration and other core issues within the need for drinking water. This is also a scenario where we actually get the statement where many people died from the waters that had become bitter. Out of these 4 trumpets, this is the only time we actually get the statement that many people died from the effect. So we know that this will be detrimental to the earth. The 4th trumpet just causes overall darkness by taking out a third of the stars, moon, and sun, and causing a much darker tone on the earth overall in the time after this. This is the final trumpet mentioned here, but our closing verse of 13 just goes to show how much worse things are going to get for people still on the earth. At this time, saying woe to them because of the trumpet blasts about to be sounded by the next 3 angels, symbolizing that there are worse things in tow for chapter 9 and the 5th and 6th trumpets being sounded.